Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I want to talk about, how bad Saturday Night Live sucks, but I want to compare it to a single comedian or, a low budget YouTube channel, Kyle Dunnigan's channel, that's very funny. And it's just like one person and a couple of his friends, right, or whatever it is, coming up with sketch comedy and doing imitations that blows Saturday Night Live away. Like, I want to illustrate that it can be done, right? that it doesn't have to suck this bad. I don't know. Like, it's just the opposite of funny. When you watch Saturday Night Live, it like drains the good humor away from your system. It's like an anti-comedian vortex. I got a bunch more stuff to get to. Every day is packed full of stuff. So I'm going to start here with Saturday Night Live. But Lil Nas X admitted he targeted kids as his audience. And so that video, which now is so controversial and, was shock value on purpose, is targeted as kids. He's admitted this. One of my viewers sent me something about it. And so I'm going to get to all that. There's a ton of stuff going on. But first, Saturday Night Live. So this is, I'm not sure who this cast member is, but he's doing a horrible imitation of Joe Biden. They've exhumed Maya Rudolph because she's the former cast member that looks the most like Kamala Harris, but she doesn't do a good Kamala Harris impersonation. Because the key to Kamala Harris's impersonation is her cackling laugh. Like, you need someone to be able to do that, and Maya Rudolph can't do it. They brought in Martin Short for, they always exhume these old cast members who like stomp all over their legacy because, because it's like Saturday Night Live has just gone completely downhill over the years. I don't think it was ever really funny. Like, when I was a kid, I thought it was funny because, it was, edgy for what was available. But now in retrospect, you're like, oh yeah, it wasn't really that funny at all. There's there's some sketches. There's some, people like Eddie Murphy who was naturally funny. I mean, there's some people. Martin Short had a couple of characters that were funny, but he comes in as Doug, Kamala Harris's husband, Dougie Fresh. And they're having a Seder for, Passover for some reason. I guess that Dougie Fresh is Jewish, and she's invited all these people over. And I've talked about Edie Bryant's horrible impression of Ted Cruz. It doesn't work. She has a very high voice, and it's, annoying. And of course, they don't have any really funny jokes. They've lost all ability to write funny material. And the thing is that the apocalypse is funny. When anything starts to break down, and I guess it's, subjective, but I find it hilarious. Like when there are relationships break down, or when businesses break down, or when the world system breaks down, it's even funnier. I've been involved where restaurants, I've worked as a waiter where the restaurant's like falling apart. There's this guy, I've talked about him before. He was a hilarious restaurant owner. He was foreign. I think he was Hungarian, but he was living in Sweden. And he had this restaurant that his tagline was the house of fish, steak, pork, chicken, and lamb. And that was written on underneath the sign. And I worked on and off at this restaurant, and he got one good review, and he was like living life, and he was getting cocky, and he was being abusive to his staff. And then the business tanked off, and he was begging everyone to stay. He was a guy that his wife walked by, and she was, sort of a heavy set, troll looking, like she looked like a troll, and she walked by, and he said to me, I used to have beautiful women. Now I have hard worker. And when his restaurant started to really tank and fall apart, and, it was just funny. It was just like the whole energy around the place, and, everybody's like quitting, and it's just, there's something humorous about something when it's in its decline. At least to me, I find it, hilarious. And the apocalypse has got so many great things going on that's funny. When you're in the end of a relationship, like all this hidden stuff comes out, right? People start saying stuff to each other, and then friends start saying things to you like, oh, I never liked her, I never liked him, right? there's just all this stuff that comes out, and it's like truth that is hidden, truth that is suppressed comes up to the surface, and that's what's happening now. And it's hilarious. To me, it's hilarious. You know, my ex, we were in Sri Lanka when our marriage was falling apart, and I was like working on a video or something. There's all this stress, and she went down to the this restaurant where they served string hoppers, and their string hoppers are these little it's like Indian food. They're little noodles that are in about 3 inches in diameter. These pressed noodles that are in circles, right? Circled noodles, and they're kind of good. And we used to eat them with dal. It was something my family enjoyed. And we'd go to this place, the string hopper place, right? And she took the kids to the string hopper place, and she had that, "Oh, your dad's a bad guy" conversation, which should be offensive to me. But the string hoppers are so funny. I'm like, she sold me out over the string hoppers. He sold me out over a meal of string hoppers. Like, that's funny, And so you can always find funny in the apocalypse, but somehow Saturday Night Live is devoid of the ability to find humor in something that's so easily poked fun of. So here's JoJo coming into the Seder.
Hey, did y'all catch my press conference? It was so easy. A lot of critics thought I wasn't mentally prepared enough, but I think I proved them all wrong.
So the fact that JoJo used note cards, and he's got this sort of sideways smile. He's got a little bit of the impression, but it's not funny. Like that's their big joke, right? This is one of the big sketch, and JoJo just had a press conference, and they got Maya Rudolph hosting the show this week, and that's not a joke. Like, that wasn't a joke, It's not funny. And he's got dementia. Like, he's falling apart mentally, which is hilarious. This is the comedian Kyle Dunnigan's sketch where he is, he has this some kind of, deep fake type of technology he uses. And he's able to do good impressions. And so JoJo sees himself in the mirror, and he doesn't know who it is. So he has a conversation with himself in the mirror, which is, a brilliant premise.
Climper, the Clizzers, man. Hey, who are you? I'm you, man. Come on. It's me, Joey B. How'd you get in here? This is a security breach.
So, that's just a good premise, right? JoJo's so confused. He looks at the mirror, and there's multiple jokes in this. This is a minute long, and there's, my wife and I watched this a bunch of times, and we laugh out loud probably 3 or 4 times each time. And then there's this moment here where JoJo sort of has a flashback.
Marshall's. She said, "Let's go behind the bleachers. No one's looking. $5.25 for a sniff and tug." It was a dude, man.
A sniff and tug, because that's funny. That is let's compare this to what we see here on Saturday Night Live. So he's got JoJo having a conversation with himself, looking in the mirror, and because he's so confused, and there's just a much better impression, and there's multiple funny jokes here.
Yeah. Oh, Kamala, not sure if you heard, but I'm putting you in charge of solving a little immigration problem down at the Mexican border.
Yes, I did hear that. Wow. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So this sketch is 7 minutes and 33 seconds long, and again, I couldn't watch the whole thing because it just sucks the life out of you. It's devoid of comedy. It just sucks the joy out of you. But maybe there's 6 or 7 jokes in it. 7 minutes long. I mean, I don't know, maybe 20 attempted jokes. None of the jokes are funny. I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh internally. I didn't think it was witty. None of it. It was just subpar. It just, it's a complete bummer. Where Kyle Dunnigan's stuff on JoJo are about a minute long, minute and a half long, and there's a good 7, 8 jokes. There's jokes all the way throughout, and the whole premise and idea is funny. It puts you in a mood where you're laughing because it's deeper too. It's a deeper analysis of JoJo. which Saturday Night Live can't go into because they had so much Trump hatred that they, kind of promoted JoJo, and now they can't show you, all this stuff of how bad JoJo is, right? When I watch stuff on the internet, we've also been watching the guy who does movie pitches, which are funny. And there's, a lot of things on the internet, a lot of individual people putting out creative content that's so far more advanced than what you see on mainstream media, mainstream TV, and things like this. And I can, be making a video and something pops up on a sidebar and I'm watching on YouTube. And there's, I'll get a good couple of laughs, break up with my day a little bit. People are at work. You don't need these 8-minute long sketches, that seem like they're half hour. And that's how bad Saturday Night Live is. See, a lot of what Saturday Night Live has done is it convinces people it's funny. That's why laugh tracks are there. But people, out of peer pressure, and do you see what was on Saturday Night Live last night? That, and that's what they've done over the years, but it's never really been funny. And that's what a comedy show is supposed to be. You're getting paid, or you're drawing your audience in your ability to make them laugh, not on your social commentary, like that's a part of it, but it's the comedy. You got to be funny, right? If you're not funny, then you should be canceled. It's just like a singer who can't sing anymore, or a musician who can't play an instrument anymore, any job you think about, a person who can't, a mechanic that can't hold a wrench anymore, well then, they can't work. And so Saturday Night Live has lost the ability to be funny, and now they're just the opposite. Like they put you in a bad mood. Right? And the impressions are so bad. Like in the beginning, Maya Rudolph, who has done impersonations of Kamala Harris before, has to tell you what impression she's doing. Literally has to say it because you wouldn't know otherwise. You wouldn't say, oh, that's Kamala Harris, because she's not even doing an impression. She's being herself.
I'm Vice President Kamala Harris. This has been a difficult year for all of us, but...
So, yeah, that's not, okay, you're Kamala Harris because you say so, but you wouldn't know that. It just looks like Maya Rudolph. There's nothing changed. Well, here's another one from Kyle Dunnigan's channel, where he's got JoJo, and Joe's mask is hanging off his ear, which is initially funny, and this is Ben Shapiro. So he's imitating two different people here, right?
Hey, look who it is, better for Shrimpo. It's me, Jericho Biden. I hear you're a very talented Trans Am.
So that's two jokes in 7 seconds, right? And he does a good impression of Ben Shapiro as well. Like the whole thing's funny. And the premise is funny, and he gets right into it, right? It's about telling jokes. They don't have some dragging on drama and dialogue that doesn't make sense, like on Saturday Night Live. He gets right into it, and it's funny from the get-go.
Okay, I'm confused. You called the Ben Shapiro show. I'm Ben Shapiro. I don't know who Benifer Shrimpo is. Also, I'm not a Trans Am. That's a car. I'm a human man.
Like, that's funny, right? Like, that's funny, And again, this is 1 minute and 21 seconds, and it's packed with jokes. And you know who he's impersonating. It's not some mystery, like they have to say who it is. So, in the beginning, she brings out Dougie Fresh, Martin Short playing Dougie Fresh. And...
You, honey.
You better be.
But from time to time, you're going to look around, I'm not going to be there.
Oh, no.
But that's...
It's just uncomfortable. Like, it's cringeworthy. It sucks so bad and doesn't deliver on his expectations. It, puts you in a bad mood. You might be in a silly mood, There's times that it's easier to laugh than other times. And Saturday Night Live puts you in a, takes away your joy, right? And then everybody leaves, and this is how they end the sketch.
Called Diana, and the refrain is, it would have been enough. And if you're just vice president...
Oh, no, that won't be enough.
Oh.
Which they could make funny that Kamala is actually the real target here. They're going to install her at some point. Like, that's a reasonable assumption. We believe that here in the truth community. But the way they did it there wasn't funny. And it's like, a bait and switch, because they were a part of propping up JoJo like the mainstream media did, a guy who's obviously was never up to the job. And now they're sort of saying, oh, yeah, let's put Kamala in there. And Kamala was polling at 1%. She had to drop out of the election. She didn't get one vote in a primary. Unlikable, unelectable. And they've slid her in there on, JoJo's corpse, right? And Saturday Night Live is, in an unfunny way, saying that they screwed you over, and they're promoting Kamala as moving in on JoJo. Saturday Night Live has 11 million subscribers, 11.6 million subscribers. It's just because of the brand recognition, because it's not because of the quality of the content, because that doesn't translate to views, right? There's 84,000 views here, 90,000, 298,000. I mean, it's with that many subscribers, you would think there would be more views. It's just because there's this, everyone knows what Saturday Night Live is, but deep down, nobody really wants to watch these things. People don't rush to the internets and watch these things. They don't say, all right, I got to find out what happened on Saturday Night Live. Like, I'm mocking it. I'll suffer through it because I make videos about how bad it sucks. Kyle Dunnigan has 138,000 subscribers, which I don't know why it would be that low. He is somebody who was like a former writer for Amy Schumer, and he was connected to some of these other comedians and celebrities. And so he is, I guess somewhat of a Hollywood insider, but his coverage of Hollywood is pretty vicious. And so I don't know if there's suppression or, why. I know he got some sort of a community guideline strike and couldn't upload for a while. And so, it's pretty vicious stuff about the Hollywood culture. Like, he has a show where he does, this guy, Kurt Metzger, is a comedian. He's got a couple of, I guess, friends that help him make these sketches. He did a good thing on Cuomo's, Jack Nicholson. I first saw this channel because he did this thing on Michael Jackson after the Leaving Neverland thing broke.
Then they did. I was like, oh shit. Did y'all notice I only slept with little cute boys? Not little girls. Not little ugly boys.
In terms of impressions of Michael Jackson, that's pretty brutal, but, spot on. And he has this character named Craig who would be a real funny. It's like, how sitcoms have that sort of breakout funny character, but they always suck the life out of it, and they have the same old tagline, how sitcoms just, suck, right? But this character is like my favorite fictional character on the internet. He's like, mentally challenged. And this one, he dropped his toothbrush in the toilet bowl, and he calls his dentist.
Dr. Simon, I have a dentist emergency.
Who is this?
Craig.
Craig who?
Craig, the big boy with the very pretty smile.
Oh, that's funny. Craig, the big boy with the very pretty smile. And so it goes on. He's trying to get the toothbrush out of the toilet bowl, and he's trying all kinds of things. It's just funny, right? Short 4-minute sketch, and it's like better than anything you're going to find on Saturday Night Live. He has a news program with Craig as the lead anchor, and it's actually funny to watch. It takes you away from, all the dark, heavy stuff in the world. It's just light, right? It's, it's got a light condition to it. This one, Craig is got his Mickey Mouse hat that he doesn't like because it's got R2-D2 buttons on it, and his mom, he's pissed at his mom.
There's Mickey Mouse here.
No, the R2-D2 mouse.
There's Mickey Mouse here.
Does Mickey Mouse have boop boop up buttons on them? I don't think so.
And so, it's just out there. You can find funny stuff on the internet all the time. And mainstream TV and movies, it's very hard to find something that is got humor in it, it's quality, it's not dumbed down. I mean, some of the stuff is just so stupid out there, right? And this guy has a lot of funny, short stuff you can watch on his channel. And, it's similar to the stuff they do on Saturday Night Live. And it doesn't have the budget, doesn't have, the writers and things like this. doesn't have the high production values, but it's actually funny. It delivers. His stuff delivers at least, a couple of good out loud laughs. Where Saturday Night Live, you can watch the whole show. You can watch 4 whole episodes and not laugh out loud, and you're actually in a bad mood afterwards. I cover stuff all the time that's heavy. Like I just, make videos on the apocalaughs, and there's lots of things that are just heavy. There's humor that you can find in it, but there's a lot of people just bummed out and miserable and all these things. So I watch stuff on the internet or on TV. I don't want to, deal with that stuff, right? The news, they're so dour and, what I call it, the somber ties, right? Jake Tappers, And so there's ways to make what's going on light and funny. And this guy does it. And there's people all over the internet that are doing it. But the mainstream culture has just got this doom and gloom that they're pushing out all the time. And Saturday Night Live is one of the worst. And mainstream entertainment, network entertainment, all this stuff that's out there that has handlers and budgets and producers and all these people is controlled, right? They have editors. They have all these people that tell them what they can say and what they can't say. The news media. And if the internet has shown us anything, that independent people are much more interesting because they can be themselves and speak their minds, at least until they get so big that they can't, right? You see this with YouTube celebrities that become so big that they get, controlled. But in terms of most of the stuff that's out there on the internet, at least, even with the censorship and the cancel culture and the deplatforming, it's still so much better than anything the networks put out there. Certainly Saturday Night Live, it's, it doesn't have a purpose anymore. It's just shilling for the beast. So, I got a bunch more stuff to get to here. Let's start here with this Nas X thing. Fans divided as Lil Nas X gives Satan a lap dance in new video. And, if anybody should be canceled, and again, I don't believe in the cancel culture, it's Lil Nas X for what he did here in this horrible video. Here he is with Satan. There's, he's giving Satan the lap dance because he did this like Madam Expiration Date, like Madonna. He did this, just as shock value. The song sucks, right? And it's already got 21 million views in 2 days. It's released 2 days ago. It's gone viral. It's going to be in the, might get up to 1 billion views. And that's, mostly kids. And it's bad for kids to watch. It's not, it's not something that is going to make their lives better. It's introducing them to a lot of bad stuff. I've talked about that in other videos. But, what makes it that he should be canceled is the song sucks. Like he had that one song, the, cowboy song that's pretty catchy. And, it was like maybe one of those #1 songs for the year or something like that. It stood out. And the guy has put out crap ever since. And it's been targeted at kids. So I completed the original part of this video and I was about to go into the editing process, and one of my viewers sent me this. Lil Nas X says children are his core audience right now, and that's okay. This was of January 5th, 2021. So this video he was about to put out, he knew that most of the people who are going to watch it, his targeted audience, is kids. And, a couple months later, he's releasing this video. It was in production then, or was whatever they were doing, to kids. Like he knows this video is going to kids. He's admitting it here, and it's okay. And that's okay. And here's where he says it on this NPR interview.
A new children's book features a young boy out in the country taking into account things that bring him joy. Things like boots, naps, and swag. The book is called C is for Country, and it's written by Lil Nas X, the Grammy-winning, chart-topping musician behind Old Town Road.
I got the horses.
So he's written a children's book, and again, he's going to talk about cultivating a children's audience. This is a part of a marketing plan that ends up with a lap dance for Satan.
And he spoke to NPR's Andrew Limbong about the importance of reaching out to kids.
The book follows a basic premise. A is for adventure. Every day is a brand new start. B is for boots, whether you're small, short, or tall. C is for country. And then you get to F is for fringe and feathers and fake fur. I love that for me, says the Lil Nas X character in the book. The real Lil Nas X says he got similar messages of be yourself growing up, except it wasn't super genuine.
I think we all got that message growing up, but it was never like truly enforced. It was kind of like, do what you want, be who you want, but be who I want you to be.
His family or his school and his community wanted him to be just a regular kid, and he wanted to make shoes with blood in them, 666 and pentagrams on them, and do lap dance for Satan. Like, you know, they wouldn't allow him to be who he wanted to be. It's a positive message for kids, that they can be whatever they want to be, including a bad rapper, a person who puts out crappy rap music, but is able to sensationalize himself through lap dances for Satan.
He says his entire public persona has been trying to communicate an honest version of this message to kids, including his nieces and nephews to whom the book is dedicated.
Welcome to the show, Nas.
He spent a lot of 2020 getting himself in front of children.
So 2020, and even before that, he was marketing to children. In 2021, he was going to put out a video in which, I mean, it's not just the Satan lap dance that's offensive and, you know, not for children, but it's the whole thing. And his audience is primarily made up of children, and they're laying it out here in this, you know, interview that took place a month and a half before the Satan video.
In the spring, he did an appearance on the Not Too Late show, singing along with its host Elmo.
This is the song, la 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 la, Elmo song.
And then heading into Thanksgiving,
It looks like we're stuck in this bubble. I'm gonna need your help.
a giant Lil Nas X appeared on Roblox, the online gaming platform where he performed a cleaned up version of his song Holiday.
Hey, it's a holiday. Oh, yeah.
Roblox is huge for kids. The company says over half of its users are under the age of 13, and this appearance alone drew in more than 30 million visits. Nas says when Roblox approached them to do this,
So again, this is a part of a marketing strategy, right? Where he's getting 30 million hits to his, you know, this kid-oriented website platform, and he's building a fan base out of kids with the ultimate intent. I mean, you can say clearly this was pre-planned to some extent, of dropping this lap dancing Satan video and shoes that are satanic in nature.
he sat on it for a bit.
But then I went to my sister's house, and coincidentally, my nephew just randomly asked me, he was like, hey, have you played this game? And then, boom, I decided to do it.
Marketing to kids directly makes perfect sense when you look at exactly how huge Old Town Road was with the elementary school demographic, says Dan Runcie. He's the founder of Trapital, a media company and newsletter focusing on the business of hip-hop.
Lil Nas X catered and really resonated with that younger demographic. And we saw that with this surprise concert that he did when he went to this elementary school in Ohio.
What Runcie is referring to here is a video of Nas going to Lander Elementary in Ohio in 2019, showing up to a gym full of kids.
So I put this in my video, last couple of videos, but it's much worse than I thought because it's a much more extensive marketing plan and scheme, right? Where he's targeting kids, and then ultimately it's leading them to this video where he's doing a lap dance for Satan.
And the kids went wild in a way that you normally don't see kids going wild for a 20-year-old rapper that is doing his thing.
And of course, they knew all the words.
We all know, like, kids determine the future.
For Lil Nas X, that is both true in the big picture societal way, but also for his career.
These are the people that grow with you, learn from you, and emulate you. And
he just said it, right? Learn from you, grow from you, emulate you. All the things that are bad with this video where he is, you know, lap dancing for Satan. I mean, the whole video and the shoes, like, he knows the influence he has over these kids, and, you know, he's abusing that influence.
they're like the most loyal fans, you could ever have, honestly.
Children are the most loyal fans. You know, they're just children. They're loyal because they're innocent. And, you know, what he's doing here is messed up.
Or, as he put it on his song Holiday,
this is the lyrics to that song, Holiday. Man, I snuck into the game, came in on a horse. I pulled a gimmick. I admit it. I got no remorse. And so he pretended to be something he wasn't in terms of the horse video, which endeared him to kids and their parents, but he wasn't like that at all. I mean, this is who he really is, a guy who wants to make videos for children, which he is doing lap dances on a devil. And then he says down here, he, I'm as bad as Michael Jackson. And so what is he admitting to here? We know what Michael Jackson is known for, to do with kids. And so it's a very vulgar song here. He's admitting that he's a bad person like Michael Jackson and that he used a gimmick to get to kids. And now he's, you know, doing this stuff with devil worship. And so then this came out. I just saw this as well. So it worked out that this person sent me that clip. Lil Nas X claps back at critics after NSFW Montero music video sparks backlash. There he is with Satan doing the lap dance thing. And he says, y'all saying a gay N-word twerking on CGI Satan is the end times, like slavery and the Holocaust didn't happen. What are you talking about? That's completely irrelevant, right? You know, like that's, you know, some wife catches her husband cheating. He says, you know, you're coming at me like it's the end times. And, you know, like the Holocaust and slavery never happened. Like, you know, somebody comes in late to work and their boss starts chewing them out. Hey, take it easy. You know, there's slavery and Holocaust, right? What you did here, what you're responsible for, is you have admitted you had a marketing plan in which you targeted children. You went after them as your preferred audience. And you gained their trust and their parents' trust. You appeared on shows for kids. You actually changed the lyrics of your song, which was also inappropriate to do, to lure them in, you know, to make him kid-friendly. And after building up a majority of fans being children and winning their trust and their parents' trust, you drop this video and sneakers that are satanic in nature. Like, you're responsible for that. You can't walk away from that. Like people are overreacting. You know, you're not some biker gang musician, you know, some sort of heavy metal musicians that deal in Satanism, and the name of your band is Satanists, right, or something like that, right? Crazy Satanists or Marilyn Manson or something. You're somebody who actually went after kids and targeted them. And then you dropped a video which they're going to see over and over and over again. That's one of the most offensive videos in a sea of really offensive videos out there. And then you double down and try to sell them $1,018, 666 $18 shoes, overpriced shoes, merching up with devil worshiping shoes. You're responsible for all of that. That's really bad what you did. The bait and switch of this thing. And so parents and kids should feel betrayed. And this is just, it's just such a low vibrational move. And then he says there's mass shooting every week that our government does nothing to stop. Me sliding down a CGI pole isn't what is destroying society. You're not the victim here. You did something bad. You targeted kids, and then you did something inappropriate for kids, which I'll get more into how inappropriate it is. But I mean, take responsibility. This isn't a defense saying that there's worse things out there. There's, you know, other things that are destroying our society. Yeah, sure. That doesn't mean what you did was okay. You don't have any excuse for what you did here. And this person says, the system is targeting kids. Lil Nas X's fan base is mostly kids. They did the same thing with Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana. They did do that, and I've talked about that in past videos. So the model here to degrade kids is they had a Disney show with Hannah Montana in it and Britney Spears as well. Country-oriented, right? something that's rural. Parents are trusting Disney. Disney's a name they trust, and they trust, these kids' networks. And it's a normal kid, right? An innocent kid, and Miley Cyrus and Britney Spears, two examples of this. And then as they grow older, they just get more and more degraded. And these kids that were, whatever age they were when they started watching Hannah Montana are at the same age as they watch Miley go down the slow slope of degradation. And this is, again, Billy Ray Cyrus was a part of Nas's X thing. He was somebody associated with those shows as well, right? His country, fake country, whatever it is. But there's this pattern, Taylor Swift as well, where you have these kid stars. You see it over and over again. And then they just fall into Hollywood depravity, and their fans go with them. Their fans get more and more degraded as they are connected to this celebrity, to this child celebrity. And it's really hard to understand the implications and effects of this. It isn't just Lil Nas X, obviously. This is Hollywood degradation, because TV itself has followed this same pattern. When I watched TV as a kid, compared to what's on the TV now, is just so much more graphic and degraded. And so what was acceptable years ago on TV and in society has just gone down this slope. So if you think of parents trusting Lil Nas X, because in a sense, the internet now is a babysitter. You stick a laptop or an iPad in front of a kid, right? Hand a kid a phone, an iPad, and you go do your stuff, and the device babysits your kid. And that's where we are as a society. Parents are certainly responsible for that as well. But when somebody comes out as a trusted element, and he had this, hokey song, it was something different, sort of a rap cowboy song, and all these kids connected to it and related, and their parents like, oh, this is a good guy, we'll trust him. And so imagine if he was babysitting your kids, and he babysitted your kids for a year, and he was fine, and one day you came home, and there's some dude in a Satan costume, and this dude's doing a lap dance on him in front of your kids. Like, that's pretty substantial, right? Criminal, possibly, right? I mean, there might be criminal charges here. Sexual abuse is also exposing kids to sexual material before they're ready. I worked as a counselor. I have a master's degree in counseling, and I worked as a counselor and a clinician in treatment centers for teenage pedophiles and sex offenders. Something that is overlooked as sexually abusive is exposing kids to material and concepts and sexual energy before they're ready to handle it. And that's something that all kids get exposed to now because of the internet and porn and all this stuff. And the more degraded, immoral, graphic nature of what's on the internet right now. And Nas X is certainly contributing to that and taking it at a different level by bringing in Satan to it also. Because Satan as a concept, Satan as a metaphor, and what it represents to kids and their parents and all these things has to be, factored in. He knows what he's doing. So does his team, because they're doing it because they knew it was shock value. They knew it was going to cause a shock, right? This was not, this was something that was known, right? It wasn't accidental. He knew this was going to happen. And what makes this abusive is kids are innocent, right? Their brains and their bodies and their essence isn't ready to handle sexual information. They might see a couple of dogs mating or something like that or whatever. Farm animals or something. I mean, maybe they walk in and see their parents doing something or whatever it is. But their parents start making out even, and they have coping mechanisms. They block it out, right? Their brain's like, oh, you're not ready to handle this. But if they see it over and over again, and their friends are talking about it, and they get it into their conscious mind, and this is what happens to kids who are sexually abused, all of a sudden they have adult level behavior that is happening to them when they're not ready to handle it. And that's why it messes them up so much. Any kind of adult level behavior, if a parent dies and one of the kids has to grow up real quick and assume the role of the mother or the father in the family, a sibling, they, I mean, they don't get to develop the way they're supposed to, and they have to become an adult sooner than they're ready to become an adult. And so something as depraved as what Lil Nas X put out there, and the betrayal of his, building a trust with his audience is substantial. Like I can't quantify it, but it's really, really bad. And you have a responsibility, right? He has a responsibility to these kids that he's cultivated an audience. He asked them to be his audience, and he, completely abused that trust that he had with the parents and the kids. And everybody involved in this, is culpable for this. Everybody who's promoting this, everybody who, was a part of the production of the video, all of it, knowing what this was going to do, because it's going to be seen over and over and over by kids, and it's going to have an effect on them, each one individually differently, but it's not a positive effect. And it's, it's an act of evil. Like, is it the worst act of evil? No, but it's definitely an act of evil. And so one of my viewers sent me this a couple days ago. Greta Thunberg has got a statue, finally. Like, what took them so long? The University of Winchester in England has made a sculpture of Greta Thunberg reaching out, going to be unveiled. Like, what took them so long? Clearly, this is a person who needs to be immortalized in a statue. I mean, she's 16, and she said, "How dare you?" I mean, it definitely warrants a statue. I don't know what these guys are doing, waiting so long. Finally got on this thing. I mean, this is great. Like, this is just a funny thing. Like, this is just in itself. When I saw the statue, it started to make me happy. Like, it's the sign of the apocalaughs. Olivia Jade talks being publicly shamed for a college admission scandal. We're all very quick to judge. And there's a video link related to it here.
A very inspirational woman once told me, we were talking about like being in the public and being publicly shamed, and I was like, well, my situation doesn't even compare. I'm not going to even start to compare it to yours.
Who is this very inspirational woman you speak of? Somebody who has had worse public shaming than you. I don't know. Is it possibly Hillary Clinton? I'm just going out on a limb. We want names. If you're going to bring this, we want names.
And she looked at me and she said, Olivia, it doesn't matter if I'm drowning in 60 feet of water and you're drowning in 30. We're both still drowning.
Kablam! Exactly. You're in 60 feet of water and I'm in 30, but it's still drowning. Like, I see why you said she's so inspirational. What about 100 feet of water? If it's a difference, if you're in 100 feet of water, like what if you're like, down so low that the pressure is crushing you because of the pressure, the water pressure, and that's like drowning and being crushed. Is that worse? Like, I want to know at what point the difference in the depth of the water matters, because a wonderful saying, I want to see if it holds water. And now I think the inspirational woman is your mom. Because it sounds like you were having like a dope to dope talk. And she busted out the water analogy.
And I think about that quote every day.
And twice on Tuesday. Every day you think it doesn't matter whether you're in 30 feet of water or 60 feet of water, you're still drowning. Wouldn't you just think about that like once and then move on? Or do you have more to say about it?
Because I think it's so true, and it's such a bigger message to our world right now. I think we're all very quick to judge. I think we're all very quick to put people down.
And this 30 feet, 60 feet of water drowning analogy could put all that to an end. If you just think about this wonderful quote, you're going to see the error of your ways. And you won't drown people so quickly or judge them so quickly when you realize they're just drowning in a little less water than you.
And I just want people to remember, if your feelings are hurting or if they're valid to you.
Wow, she's such an inspirational, deep thinker. I'm surprised she couldn't get into USC on her own. See, maybe not a dum-dum after all. This quote and this analyzation of this quote is so telling for 2021.
They're valid. And it doesn't matter if somebody's going through worse. You're allowed to have a hard time in this world.
So what you're trying to say is, even though you grow up on yachts and with privileges that are inconceivable for most people, the wealth and the celebrity of your family, and you have millions of followers on TikTok and YouTubes, and you were a social media icon, and your parents were able to pay $500,000 for you and your sister to get into USC, to cheat your way in, that your public shaming of this event is somehow relatable to everybody else who are now suffering from no jobs and the post-COVID era, or even these war-torn countries.
That doesn't take away from somebody else, and that shouldn't take away from you. We're all human beings.
Yeah, but some of us human beings can get into college without our parents paying $500,000 in bribes. I'm not, I could care less about this story. I mean, I never was offended, and, I just don't care about it, right? It's the apocalypse, and there's so much stuff going down. There's no reason to be upset when people are just trying to grab stuff for themselves. In an apocalyptic collapse, I understand. But in terms of her trying to figure this thing out and make some sense of it, her being publicly shamed, you just have to eat some things in life, and you're going to have to eat this one, right? You're going to be labeled a dummy until you demonstrate that you're not. You got to show you're not a dummy. I mean, and this video isn't getting it done. So to wrap this up, Dominion Voting sues Fox News for $1.6 billion over election claims. And I was wondering, how much is Dominion voting system worth? Is this a $1.6 billion company? Right? Because they're still being used. Like this system is still being used all over the world. Like, how was there $1.6 billion worth of damage by the way Dominion was covered? Before this election, there was Democrats there was a whole movie made by HBO, a documentary that came out right around the election, and it featured Democrats who were complaining about Dominion. It was called Kill Chain or something like this, and it was kind of well done, and it talked about how these systems could be easily hacked. And then all of a sudden this stuff happened with Trump, and all that stuff dried up, and now Dominion, which didn't sue HBO, is somehow suing Sidney Powell, which is funny, and now Fox News, and they're saying there's $1.6 billion worth of defamation because their brand is permanently destroyed by the way this was covered. So this guy, who's a former boss of the CDC, is claiming that, well, you can hear this for yourself, probably already know this.
Only opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions now. I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that.
So what he's saying is this is some sort of virus that they manipulated in a laboratory, which many people believe, because the bat thing, apparently they don't even eat bats, and, bats are getting a bad name. And the bat thing really wasn't accurate scientifically or any other way. And so now he's claiming it escaped from a laboratory there, and it's causing some controversy in CNN and other shill news organizations.
That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out. It's not unusual for respiratory pathogens that are being worked on in a laboratory to infect a laboratory worker.
If this was a man-made virus, if this virus was manipulated, if it was a natural virus that occurred in nature and then was manipulated into some sort of biological weapon, they would know. Him saying science will eventually figure this out in air quotes, they would have already figured this out. They would have known the difference between whether this comes from a lab or not. There are some people saying it did come from a lab. The coronavirus is around since 2011, even before that, in England and in Saudi Arabia and other places. So this already existed. and then in other forms, right? It's related to the flu and other things. And I've talked about having it because I had it about a year ago, and I've, I'm not completely better from it. I went through a period where this summer where it seemed like it was completely gone, the effects of it, but my body hasn't recovered. Like I got blood work done. I've had a sore throat now. I've had trouble talking. I don't know if there's vocal damage. I have to talk about that maybe in a separate video. I might have to take some time off when I figure out what's going on. But I went and got some blood work, and most of the things that were, I got some blood work done last June, and it completely devastated my immune system and my body. And I was, I had all these after effects. Then I got better during the summer, and then I had some problems this fall. A lot of people complained about psychological effects. I didn't really have anything like that, but I did have a lot of, my sleep hasn't been the same. And usually when I get sick, you just sleep it off, right? But this is something where, it affects your sleep. Like the worst part was when I laid down to go to sleep. Like I was dreading going to sleep when I had it, and then it affected my sleep for a while afterwards. And then that, had related problems. And there's all these weird symptoms, and it affects people so differently. It's hard for me to believe that this thing is natural, that this isn't some sort of biological weapon. And this guy is, finally trying to admit it. But if this thing was released, it's an act of war, and there should be some sort of punishment for it. And I, doubt the official story. I doubt that China is responsible for this. I don't know why they're choosing to blame China on this, or why that's the story they went with, because I think that there's something, more collective. This is something that the world governments did together, that they had to agree upon before it happened. Because a virus like this is going to spread globally, and it did, right? So, it only takes one country to expose it, one major power to expose it, or even a small country, and then it becomes harder for everyone else to take it seriously. But aside from all that, if you look at everything I just presented in this video, this isn't like one bad week. This is where we are on a daily basis. And for me, I've accepted, that's why it isn't so bad for me. I have accepted that this system going down, a system that we're all 100% or 90%, depending on the person, dependent on. I mean, that's the bad part. We're so dependent. We don't have a plan B. Most of us wouldn't survive the collapse of this system and wouldn't want to, right? Because we're so dependent on it. I've accepted it. And that's probably the difference between me and most people. I mean, I've accepted it as well as I can. I can see how bad the system is on all of us, from the heartfulness meditation, and understand what it's like to have a deeper internalized connection to God, and how this system in every possible way tries to destroy that connection between you and God internally, including our religions, which do that as well. I mean, they act as a middleman between you and God. And then just what it's like to live as a natural human in a natural family environment. We're so far away from that. Always being an outsider and being introverted and dyslexic. I just never liked this system. I always felt like there was something wrong with the system, or something wrong with me, because I couldn't get it. Like I didn't understand what was so great about this system. But now I, have learned to appreciate everything it does for us. When I started a homestead years ago, I realized how much the system does for us and how much free time and comforts and ease of life we have. So I appreciate the system a lot more, at least the good part about it. But the bad part is it makes people really horrible. It's making people worse. It's taking people in the wrong direction. And so the system has to go. I mean, it was, it served its purpose, whatever that is. And now there's going to be something else. And I've accepted that. And from the teachings of the heartfulness system, something better is going to come on the other side. That this system is standing in the way of us having something better on the other side. And so, I'm light about it, right? I know that there's going to be difficulties as the system collapses. But right now, it's really funny. Like literally the apocalypse. And if you look at it that way, it's a lot easier to accept. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.